What up, everybody? This is your Cosmic Homegirl, and I'm doing a forecast for the cosmic weather for the month of June 2020. We're already like halfway through the year. Can you guys believe that? 2020 has been full of surprises. It's been a crazy ride. And honestly, I think it's going to continue to be that way throughout the rest of the year. So just brace yourselves. All right. I do have forecasts available for each sign for the month of June. I brought those back this month. We do have eclipses this month. We have Venus still retrograde. We have Mercury going retrograde. It's a pretty impactful month, pretty eventful month up in the sky, up in the. So if you want to know how that affects you, you can go on my website, indigomoon.astrology.com. Go on the horoscopes page, and I have the link in the description box below the video. And also 2020 horoscopes, I slashed the price in half because we are halfway through the year, and I do go over these transits as well. The eclipses, Venus retro, Mercury retro, but not just for June, but for the whole year. So we still have Mercury's going to go retrograde again in the fall in Scorpio. That's going to be emotionally intense too. Okay. We have Mars going retrograde. Mars is in Aries and retrograde in Aries. Oh my God, 6 months of Mars in barbarian Aries. What are we going to do with ourselves? So how that affects your sign also. And also all the eclipses of the year, Saturn's transit, Jupiter's transit, all that stuff is covered in the 2020 forecast by sign. So those are only $6.99 now if you want to look at it for your sign. Of course, your rising sign is the most accurate, but if you look at your sun sign, it's still accurate. Your moon sign can tell a lot about how the transits will affect your personal life and how they will emotionally affect you too. So be sure to peep those, check those out on my website. Okay. So what is the month of June going to look like for all of us? Okay. So first of all, we do have some squares popping off, and we already had them at the end of May, and they carry over into the month of June. So we have Mars squaring the Sun, Mars squaring Venus, Mars conjunct Neptune, the Sun and Venus together, and they are squaring Neptune as well. Like, there's a lot of squares. See, a square aspect is this right here. It's the red line, and it's red because it's a quote unquote negative aspect, which means it causes a lot of tension, a lot of friction, a lot of frustration. So that it can cause some conflicts in life. It can cause some uncomfortable energy to be present. So of course, we know that is apparent outside of our personal worlds, that there's a lot of tension and all that stuff, and that is definitely apparent from squaring planets, tight conjunctions, tight squares going on at the same time. But also, and then we have also Mercury is squaring Chiron, so in Cancer and Aries, so that's also causing a lot of tension and conflict in the world too. But just on a personal level, how this stuff will affect you as individuals, this could be inner conflicts that you have. And of course, if you know your birth chart, you know where Gemini is in your chart, what house it's in, what house Pisces is in too. That's where you may have the conflicting energies really popping off. And it can be like an inner battle that you have with yourself. Like the Sun square Mars, I do cover all of this square stuff in the weekly video for the first week of June, for like May 31st through June 7th. So definitely peep that for more details into that. But just in general, the Sun is like, it's a huge life force for us here on Earth. It's a source of power, and it can rule powerful male or masculine figures in the world, but also in your life. And also for you personally, it rules your ego. It's your own sense of like self-power and expression of yourself, and everything is the Sun. And it's squaring Mars, and Mars is the other masculine planet. It rules masculinity. It rules men and, and just very masculine energy people. And it's action oriented, it's physical movement, it's drive, all of that is Mars. So when you have the sun square Mars, there could be like power struggles between you and others, or just within yourself. Maybe you don't feel fully in your power to do certain things, and you're really like squaring off with yourself. Should I, shouldn't I? Should I, shouldn't I? Or maybe you could be overusing your power and authority, overly expressive, pardon me, of your own power, authority, aggressiveness. That can happen too with the sun square Mars. And then we've got the sun and Venus together. Venus is retro, and these two will actually be together exactly on the 3rd, and then the Venus and Mars square is on the 2nd of June. But the sun and Venus together, in some forms of astrology, they say, well, since the sun is like a huge, powerful, beaming source of like energy, and is very masculine in nature, and then Venus is more subtle and feminine and receptive, that the sun like burns Venus's natural energy away, like it overshadows it. So Venus, she can't really shine like she usually does. So you may find that if you're a more Venusian person, maybe you may not feel like you're seen or heard enough right now. Maybe you won't feel so much in your femininity or in your Venusian self, like that you're able to really enjoy yourself, or, maybe you feel like you have to be more rah, 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 rah instead of just chill. But then there's other beliefs in astrology that show that the sun and Venus together, like the sun is highlighting Venus and beaming her energy more out there when they're together. So you do feel more seen. It's, either one could be correct. I go with more of the Western stuff with astrology than Eastern, but I don't discount or discredit Eastern all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like some of it may work for some people and be true for some people. But the sun and Venus are together this, like the first week of June, exact on the 3rd. Now, Venus squaring Mars, this is the masculine and the feminine squaring off too, and this could be also an inner conflict that you have. Like, you don't, like I said, this is another factor, and maybe you want to be more Venusian. You would like to be more receptive, more chill, kick back, relax, but then maybe there's some other person, other people, or other things outside of you that are like pushing you, no, you can't just chill, you can't just be feminine, you can't be peaceful, you got to be like, rah, so you may find that people are acting like that towards you, or maybe you feel like that. It depends on whether you resonate more with masculine energy or feminine energy. But either way, one can be hella pissed off at the other, okay? And especially if you have personal relationships, that can be romantic ones, because generally speaking, in romantic relationships, nothing to do with gender, but there's usually a more feminine energy person and a more masculine energy person, the yin and the yang. You balance each other out. So this does mean in your relationships, like romantic ones, especially, maybe there's tension, maybe you're frustrated, maybe you're like, yo, like there's an issue here, and finally it has to be resolved, something has to be said. There's a lot of make or break energy right now with Venus squaring Mars. And so that's definitely popping the first week of June. As soon as we step into the month, man, woo, there's so much intensity going on. Now the sun square Neptune. And then there's the sun square Neptune, there's Venus. She's still squaring Neptune, even though she's going backwards in degree. So the first week she's still squaring Neptune though. And I did a whole video on this. I've been talking about it the whole, for the last like month. And also in the Venus retrograde video that I did with some of my astro buddies, we did talk about Venus being retrograde and squaring Neptune. So I'm just gonna still say a little bit about it. Like, we're questioning reality with a lot of things. With Venus square Neptune, that can mean with your money, that can mean with love, your self-worth, the things that you value, the people you value, valuing yourself. There's some confusion surrounding it with that square. And maybe there's some truths that are revealed that are not pretty, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times Neptune rules like glamour and fantasy and all the Hollywood things and filters, you know, like things that make things appear better than they truly are. And this is something that we have. It rules magic too. So we have magic within ourselves to make things seem better than they are a lot of times, like fantasizing, okay? It doesn't always mean the naughty fantasizing either. Like, just you can kind of idealize things, you know. So Venus square Neptune can be maybe you're idealizing things to do with your money or with your relationships and things like that. So you need to be careful. But yeah, the first week of June, Venus square Neptune is still in effect. So I'll get into some other transits. I'm going to go into date order with things now. Woo. And also, as we start the month, Mercury is in Cancer. So Mercury is going to be in Cancer until August. Okay. Because Mercury is more like a he to me. Okay. Mercury is going to go retrograde in June in the sign of Cancer. I'll get to that in a little bit, but just know that when Mercury goes retrograde, usually like 2 weeks before, roughly around 2 weeks before, Mercury's in a shadow period. So the shadow period is like things could still be a little off, okay, with Mercury ruled things, meaning our thinking, especially like logically, if we're thinking, you know, our logic, our sense of logic, our sense of what's it called, like being able to process information and data and communication, all that stuff. Communication meaning even like texting, sending DMs, comprehension of what other people are saying. Okay, that's all Mercury. So there's things that can still be going wrong, going haywire, even during the shadow period. So just count the whole month of June as Mercury. He is just canceled. The whole month of June. He is not going to be his normal self. Okay. So I just wanted to throw that in before I get into things in date order. All right. So on the 5th of June, we have the first eclipse of this month, of the season, of the summer eclipse season. So that eclipse is happening on June 5th in the sign of Sagittarius. Well, it's a lunar eclipse, which means the full moon, which involves the sun and the moon, okay? It's like in the middle of the day here, west coast of the USA time. So, yeah, so we have a full moon in Sag. Now, this full moon involves Venus. Venus is in a conjunction with the sun. It involves Mars. It involves Neptune. You know, there's the opposition, which is already very tense between the sun and moon. And then we have the squares to Mars, the square to Neptune. And, you know, there's just so much tension with this full moon. So much. So what does this mean? This full moon in Sagittarius, I did cover a lot of it in detail in the weekly video for June, the first week of June. So make sure you peep that. But just in general, full moon and eclipse in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is about like, well, Sag and Gemini are both about information and truth. Sag is more about the quest for knowledge and the real truth with things. Gemini just likes to pick up bits and pieces of info, surface level stuff, just enough to get by, just enough to say, oh yeah, I've heard of that, or yeah, I know a little bit about that. I know a thing or two about that, but not fully grasping every single detail about something. Sag is like, I would say Gemini is like you skim through a paragraph, and Sag is like you read the whole freaking library of books on a particular subject or topic. So and both have to do with publications too, you know, like Gemini is like articles, And let's say Sag is like a full on, like a whole bunch of pages of information of something. Okay. Or maybe it's a whole book. It's a whole book is Sag. And then like one little paragraph or article is Gemini. Okay. So it's about information. It's about truth. And then Pisces is about things that are hidden. And also Pisces can rule deception too. And that's not to say that everybody born under the sign of Pisces is deceptive. I don't need anybody coming after me saying anything stupid like that. Especially because I am a Pisces too, okay? My moon sign is Pisces, as a lot of you guys know. We're not all deceptive people, but I'm just saying in general with the sign rules, and also with the ruling planet rules, is like putting a fog over things, putting filters over things, making things look and seem better than they really are is Neptune. That's the type of deception. So yeah, sometimes that can mean lies and cover-ups and stuff like that. Hidden things that are hidden in the fog, in the shadows, and mystery. That's this Neptune and Pisces. So people want the truth about things in general. Just this eclipse in Sagittarius, people are squaring off over lies and truth. Okay, so you may see that wherever you're at in the world, you may notice that things like that are going on. So that's what this full moon is going to represent. So there's a lot of I've been noticing that there's like celebrities and influencers and people that have a large audience, like everybody's looking at them, they're ruled by Neptune. All that is very Neptunian in nature. There's other signs and planets involved in like celebrity and being on like a large platform and all that too. But I would say Neptune is involved, okay? Because you see these people and they look so glamorous. Their lives look glamorous. They seem glamorous, and you idealize them. You idolize them sometimes. But then there's like truths that come out about who they really are, and then people are like, "Oh wow, like the fog is lifted," and people are seeing that. So there's probably going to be more of that comes up with this eclipse, because eclipses, the effects of them, they start to be seen and like start to trickle in like a month before the eclipse date. So already in May, we may have already started to see some stuff like that. And then up to 6 months after the eclipse, there's like more and more that's revealed. And then in your own life, personally, maybe there's something that you are questioning the truth about, and you just want to know. You just want to get the truth about something. You don't want to be in the dark anymore. You don't want to be hiding in the shadows and wondering what the hell's going on. For example, I've been talking to some friends about relationship stuff, and there's some of us that have been left in the dark about what are someone's true feelings and things like that. It's like, okay, Neptune is a very, like, Pisces energy is very receptive, like psychically. It's like you feel things and that what you feel is real, but then what about the actions that are being displayed by the person, or the words that are being said by the person? They could be the opposite of what they really feel. So you want to know the truth. Like, okay, I feel that there's something here, or I feel that you have feelings for me. I know that you do. There's that energy that doesn't lie, that's buzzing, between us. But you act so aloof and nonchalant. So what's real and what's not? So that could be like a personal life thing that's going on for people under this eclipse in general. But yeah, beliefs could be challenged big time, beliefs, because Sagittarius rules opinions and beliefs that people are like very strong, like they really go hard for. So that's something that can come up too. But yeah, it's a very intense eclipse. The first one in the series of Sag and Gemini eclipses that are going to be happening over the next couple of years. We have the North Node here in Gemini, South Node in Sag, wherever the South Node is at, even though the stupid website doesn't show the South Node, but whatever, we know it's there. Okay. South Node like cleans things up. I picture when the South Node transits a sign in a house, he's like cleaning house, literally, like clearing things out of there. Like a vacuum, just sucking it all up, or like a since these remind me of like horseshoe magnets, it's like a magnet just picking up all kinds of crap like out of your life and just taking it all away, clearing it away. So wherever these two signs are at in your chart, man, there's a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, that's the eclipse on the 5th. And then on the 11th, this is when we have the sun exactly squaring Neptune. So this is another day to, but of course, this is building up over time, right? Let's see. Yeah, it's like on the 5th. Oh, I'm sorry, on the 5th. Jeez Louise, I can't even talk. On the 11th, my bad. On the 11th, on the 11th, pretty much. 10th, 11th. Okay. This is when we have the sun squaring Neptune exactly. So this is a day to definitely, and Mars is very close behind. Mars is in a conjunction with Neptune. This exact conjunction happens on the 13th, and then the sun squaring all this is on the 11th. So pretty much like those few days here in June, be very aware that there's people that may try to be very deceptive, more than usual, and as always, I will always give you guys warnings that with like mutable energy, unfortunately it brings out the freaking clownery in a lot of people, and they really try some trickster bullshit. Like seriously, like, okay, like Pisces rules like magic and magic tricks and weaving webs of like, ooh, doesn't this look pretty? And then you're like, yes, and you fall for it, right? Gemini can be trickster energy on its darker side too, with words and just like mind tricks and switching things up so that you're like, huh, what? And then Gemini's like, yeah, haha, gotcha, Sagittarius energy can really present things in like this grand, it can like promise more than it can deliver. Doesn't this seem so dope? Oh my gosh, this is gonna be fantastic. No worries about consequences. Yo, this is gonna be like the dopest thing ever in the world. Just trust me on this, even though I didn't look into all the details, but just trust me, it'll be dope. Yay, just jump with me. I don't know if our parachutes are gonna work, but I'm sure we don't have to worry about that. Let's just jump. That's how Sag energy can be. Virgo is the least trickster out of the mutable signs, and there's no Virgo energy in the air right now. But Virgo energy, it has its ways about it too. It can play innocent, clean things up. Virgo energy, the trickster mutable side of it is, say for example, and I know this is kind of dark, but I'm having hella 8th house transit, so my mind is like all there in the darkness right now a lot of times. But anyway, it's kind of like that serial killer that like takes out his whole family, right? And then cleans everything up with bleach, and squeaky clean, and then puts his Poindexter glasses on. And, the police come knocking at the door and he answers it and he's like, oh, no, officer, my family's fine inside. I would never harm anyone, officer. Like the one that puts on the innocent act when really they've done some serious dirt, The front of their house looks sparkling clean and perfectly, their yard is all perfectly done and everything. Trees are all trimmed and everything looks neat, but the inside of their house could look like a scene off of that Hoarder show. Like that's what Virgo energy can be like with its trickery. So I say all that to say, when there's hella mutable energy in the air, unfortunately, a lot of trickery and deceit comes out. So just be aware of that. I'm not saying be paranoid to where you think everybody is trying to play you this month and everybody is just like out to get you, and everybody's lying. Like that song, why the you lying? Oh my god, I love that that stupid song, stupid meme song. Stop fucking lying. I love it. Anyway, that could be a theme song of the month, but don't think everybody is lying. But still, just be more aware and don't fall for everything. Question everything. Don't put anything past anybody this month, especially other mutable signs. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say, because there's heightened theft and just lies and all kinds of stuff when there's so much mutable in the air. Unfortunately, that's the truth. Okay, so anyway, I say all of that to say, Sun square Neptune and Mars conjunct Neptune. Sun square Neptune can be, there's a battle about what's real and what isn't. The sun wants to shed light upon things and make things like clear as day, just known, and Neptune wants to be like, no, let's cover it up and put a fog over it. So there's a back and forth battle with that on that day, especially. So like I said, that could be if you watch the news at all, and keep up with the news, then maybe that's something that you might notice that's happening somewhere around you or in the world. And with Mars conjunct Neptune, that's exact on the 13th. So Mars, it can rule like your drive, your sense of direction, your energy levels, physical drive, physical energy levels, and physical activities. So on one hand, we do have the dopeness of Mars conjunct Neptune, which this is a very creative aspect. This is very flowy movement. So if you are someone who does martial arts or any type of dance or any type of like yoga or Pilates, any of that stuff, that's where you should disperse your energy, and it can perform so beautifully with Mars conjunct Neptune and Pisces. So you could perform your best, like the illest moves ever in whatever it is that you do, whatever your art is. But on the other hand, on the negative side, this can be like you literally are lost. Like you get lost going places. You get lost when you're driving. This is a be careful driving transit, okay? Like I said, it's building up over a couple of weeks, and then it comes to its exact conjunction on the 13th. Yeah, on the 13th. It's exact on that day. And we also have the moon in Pisces on that day, at least in the early part of it. So that could be like massive confusion. It's like, where am I going? What am I doing? What time is it? Oh, I dropped this. I dropped something somewhere. I lost track of things. There's a lot of that going on. So let's see, the 13th, that's a Saturday. Yeah, so if you do work on that day especially, you may want to set like more alarms than usual, because you'll be sleepy. Like Mars, like Pisces energy is sleepy. Neptune's energy is sleepy. It literally rules sleep and dreams. Pisces does, Neptune does. So your dreams could be off the chain. Like really creative, imaginative stuff happening in your dreams. They could literally be like movies or something, But you can really lose track of time. Neptune dissolves the boundaries and the constructs of time. So, it could be a lot of like confusion and getting lost. Okay. If you are able to travel during this time, especially to be around bodies of water, this is actually really dope energy to do things like go fishing, go like jet skiing across the water, go boating, chill at the ocean, chill at the lake or something like that. It's really good energy for that, if you're permitted to do so, with the state of the world being so crazy. Who knows what it'll be. I'm recording this at the end of May, so by the time we get to that time in June, I don't know what's going to be going on. We don't know if there's going to be more bans on things, or if there's going to be like, okay, there's more freedom. It changes so drastically from one day to the next. But anyway, yeah, if you can travel, if you can get away, this is actually really dope energy. But just doing regular everyday practical stuff, it's not really that great. You may find yourself lazier. You may find yourself with lower energy levels, physical drive. You may find yourself like your energy levels are up and down. Like you may be like, yeah, we're done, and then you're like, okay, let me take a small break, and the next thing you know, like you're knocked out, and you're like, then you wake up in the middle of the night like, whoa, shit, I didn't even know. I didn't expect to take a 5-hour nap, and now it's like this weird odd time of the night. And what am I gonna do? Am I gonna continue doing my laundry, or should I sleep? Like, what should I do? So you can find yourself in moments like that under this type of energy. For romance, this is actually really good. If you have any type of romantic life, this is such dope energy. I can't stress that enough. So, so that is Sun square Neptune, and then Mars in a conjunction with Neptune. As far as the moon phases, you guys know I cover those in the weekly, like what the moon phases are for the week, what signs they're in. But yeah, I just thought I would mention the moon in Pisces because that's like hella Pisces energy in the air. But also, the 13th is still a day to be careful and protect your personal belongings, protect your house, your car, whatever, like, because people can take action which is Mars, to where they don't see the boundary, which is Neptune, between themselves and your stuff. Okay, that means your personal belongings, and that can even mean your relationships too. Like people could be doing some creeping under Mars conjunct Neptune, do some shady activities for real. Okay, and also Neptune and Pisces rule drugs and escapism and alcohol and stuff. So beware of shady characters who are on some stuff, and if you engage in any escapism, no judgment here, but this type of energy can make people go overboard with their escapist activities. Okay, so whatever that means for you, just keep it in mind and be very cautious around the 13th with whatever you do. Okay, so on the 17th, this is when Mercury goes retrograde. Dun dun dun. But he's already been in his shadow period for a couple weeks. Just keep that in mind. So don't let anybody tell you, well, Mercury doesn't go retrograde. I hear this all the time. I get into this argument every freaking Mercury retrograde with my non-astrologer friends when I try to tell them, when they hit me up and they're like, oh my God, so guess what happened at work today? The printer started shooting out all kinds of papers crazy everywhere, and then this email thing happened, and then my boss misunderstood me, and and I'm like, well, Mercury retrograde. And they're like, but I read that Mercury doesn't go retrograde until such and such day. I'm like, yo, the shadow period is real. Okay, it really is. The shadow period is real. Do not disregard the shadow period. But on the 17th is when Mercury officially goes retrograde. It could be the 18th if you're in an eastern part of the world. But Mercury is going retrograde in Cancer. Now, Mercury in Cancer in general is very nostalgic, really attached to memories, really attached to the past, especially childhood, especially of family, and any person or memory that really just gets them in their feels. Like Cancer energy is super attached, does not let go of that. Even things that bring negative feelings, like someone wronged you, Cancerian energy is very attached to that too, does not forget. So Mercury and Cancer in general can take things very personally, can be very sensitive, but can also be very empathetic towards other people, very concerned with others. Matters of family and home are going to be very important, just generally speaking, when Mercury's in Cancer. And then when it's retrograde, you have to return back to some things to do with family, home, childhood, memories, emotions, stuff like that. So people could be very nostalgic, like I said, watching old movies, old TV shows, things from your childhood. You know what, ever since Mercury hit Cancer, I have found myself doing that, watching old movie. I would say as soon as Mercury hit Cancer, Yo, the day Mercury hit Cancer, now I'm realizing that's when I just suddenly had the urge to go back and watch like all my favorite old movies, like all the gangster movies of the 90s. That is my shit right there. Okay? I watched Blood In Blood Out. Oh, that's a classic. That's a must-see classic. Blood In Blood Out, Mi Vida Loca. I need to watch Boys in the Hood again. Like, it doesn't matter how many times I've seen those movies. You know, you just get into these moods when under a transit like Mercury and Cancer, to where, you know, that stuff from your childhood or some point in your past, it bring things that bring comfort to you, you know. And then also I found this channel of this Australian dude, and he does 10 things you didn't know about such and such movie, about all these old school movies. I think mostly it's like from the 80s on up, and I am like binge watching those big time. Like even movies that weren't really my favorites, but I'm still curious to know the behind the scenes of whatever that movie was. But yeah, it's interesting, like going back in time, just with Mercury being in Cancer. Now when it's retrograde, it's like extra, it's like amplified, wanting to go back. So it could be just that, you know, you have a lot of Michael Jackson remember the time moments with Mercury retrograde here, but also there's maybe some childhood things that need to be addressed, you know, on the more serious tip. Childhood stuff that needs to be addressed, things revolving around children, motherhood, babies, you know, Cancer teens. Maybe there's some old recipes that you find of dishes that maybe you used to make, or maybe your family used to make, or something that has to do with, you know, Cancerian energy is, it rules your roots and your culture, like your country of origin, stuff like that. So if there's anything that you have that is linked to that you're very attached to, you could really be reminiscing about those things and craving those things and wanting to reconnect with your past and with your roots. For some people, maybe if you haven't spoken to family members in a long time, Mercury retrograde in Cancer could be a time where those people either contact you or you want to contact them. It could be a time to address childhood stuff. That's definitely already coming up for some of us. Addressing some old childhood like wounds or traumatic experiences, you know, and being able to heal stuff like that could be something that's, you turn a negative to a positive under this Mercury retrograde. Of course, with all Mercury retrogrades, you have to be, no matter what sign it's in, be aware what Mercury rules. It rules communication, it rules driving, transportation, it rules the gadgets that you use for transportation and for communication. And those things can go haywire, they can go wrong. So make sure your tires are aired up, make sure you have your oil changed, make sure you check this, check that on your car. If there's any lights that have come on the dashboard, check engine light, any of that. Make sure you get all that checked out. Any electrical issues, you know, with your vehicles, get it checked out. If you ride the bus or public transportation, there could be things that go wrong with that. So you need to like leave earlier, plan ahead in case because traffic is usually real shitty under Mercury retrograde, whether you're driving or someone else is, or you're riding a bike or scooter or something. Okay. Even if you're footing it, like you're just, you walk places, you want to leave earlier because there could be something crazy that happens that like blocks you. Delays, there's a lot of delays with Mercury retrograde. And then also with communication, you know, with texting, DMs, writing things, there could be errors. So try to have patience with your own errors and other people's errors too during that time. And don't be sending no inappropriate pictures to the wrong people, okay, under Mercury retrograde, because I think I always tell you guys every time, every Mercury retro, that has happened to some of my friends. Oh my gosh. Like one Mercury retro, one of my homegirls, she lost her phone and I don't think she had it locked, and some perv found it and she had some naughty pictures in there, and he like was sending them to people, and I don't know, it was just, oh my God, it was a big fiasco, embarrassing for her. And then another one of my close friends, her Snapchat was hacked, and she still had a naughty picture in there, super naughty. And whoever hacked it sent it to her whole freaking address book in Snapchat, including like relatives and her son's friends, and like, I'm like, yo, for real? Even I got the picture and I was like, girl, I don't know why you're sending me this. It's probably on accident, but you do look pretty banging though. I mean, of course your homegirl's gonna tell you, but I don't think you meant to send this to me. And then she was like, oh my god, I got hacked. So yeah, stuff like that can happen under Mercury retrograde, especially when we have the tricky mutable energy, and Neptune involved. People invade your space, invade your privacy. They can invade your phone. Okay, so just be aware of that. So with Mercury retro in Cancer, try not to take things too personally. Not everything's about you. Not every post that you think has a subliminal message about you is about you. Okay, and try to still be direct with people about your wants and your needs and your concerns, because Mercury in water signs can they're emotional. They have a lot of emotional intelligence to where they can pick up on things that people are not verbalizing, but their body language, their tone, or even their minds are like saying things. You pick up on that psychically, but and it's something that could be totally different from what the words that come out of their mouth say. And Mercury and water signs are, having Mercury in a water sign is beautiful because of that. But at the same time, not everybody, you have to remember when we have this, that not everybody operates like that. And so some people are just more about you giving them direct information and very clearly verbalizing things. Not everybody can feel what you feel and guess. Don't make people play a guessing game. Well, you didn't guess what was wrong with me, so therefore I'm mad at you. Like stuff like that is what can happen under Mercury and Cancer. And then Mercury retrograde could be going within and dealing with emotional stuff, but you're so within that you forget that everybody outside of you doesn't know what the is going on within you. Okay, so you need to speak and communicate that if you want problems resolved. So that's Mercury retro in Cancer. Mercury will be retrograde until from June 17th till July 12th, and then it'll go direct again in July 12th and be there until August. What was it? August 4th, 5th, or something like that. Let's see. Let's get the dates and be nerds real quick. Yeah, until August 4th. Mercury will be in Cancer. Mercury will be out of its shadow period once it turns direct, after it passes that 14th degree, so around the end of July, like July 27th or so. And last year we had Mercury retrograde in Cancer too, at the end of June and into July. So if you can recall that time period and what went on during that time and where Cancer is in your birth chart, then that can give you kind of an idea of how it's going to affect you personally again. Okay, so speaking of Cancerian energy, we do have the sun moving into Cancer on the 20th. So June 20th until July 22nd, the sun in Cancer. So more Cancer energy bestowed upon us. So that does make people more concerned with you on a personal level than just, kind of buzzing your phone with like 2 words and then disappearing. Like when everything was in Gemini, pretty much. That was the vibe. That was definitely the vibe. The Cancer vibe is a lot more personal, a lot more concerned with you, like, how do you feel about things and what's really going on and do you have enough food? And it's very nurturing energy. Gemini energy is not about that life, and I don't need any Geminis in the comments saying I'm a Gemini and I'm very caring. Yeah, well, you probably have planets in Cancer, so shut up, okay? Hush your mouth. But Cancer energy within itself is much more concerned with the well-being of people on a real level, to where they feel it. They will make your problems their problems. So that's more of what the energy is like. for the rest of the month. So the sun in Cancer, it is a time to where a lot of people, they get together with family a lot more. That is if the craziness of the times permit. Okay, of course we all know that, but people get together with family more, or they're concerned with family, or even if it's not family like blood family, because that's very general with Cancer energy. But coming from someone who, my fourth house is Aquarius. Fourth house in Cancer rule home, family, roots, and all that. And I have found as a fourth house in Aquarius person, and my sister has moon in Aquarius, and the moon also rules home, family, and stuff like that, family stuff. So what I have found is that we can find quote unquote family in anybody. It doesn't just mean your blood relatives. You can be raised around people who you're not blood related to, but you're very close to them, or you learn a lot from them, or maybe you got the usual maternal nurturing energy from other people that are outside of your blood relatives or your household. And those are the people that you feel the closest to and that you trust the most. So family could be defined in different ways, is what I like to say, just based on those experiences, the more Aquarian experiences of quote unquote family. But for usually for people, it means their blood relatives. But sometimes it's not like that for everybody. Okay. So those who you trust, who you're the closest to, the cancer energy is the crab, and the crab has its shell, right? But the shell isn't always just your house, your literal home. Although Cancer season can make people more about home improvement, literally to where they live, their living space. You want to improve it. You want to decorate it. You want to make it more like homey. You know what I'm saying? Not like you're homey, but you know what I mean? Like you make it more like comfy, looks nice, smells nice, stuff like that. It's about hospitality. So that could be like the crab shell, but also your shell is protection. So who do you feel the safest around? So maybe you're just craving the company of those people over superficial relationships with those who don't really make you feel like that, but they're just like good chatting buddies. Like, hey, how you doing? How was your day? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, bye. Wink and gun. Like, that's more the Gemini vibe. And so the vibe is going to switch up. We will still have Venus in Gemini, of course. But the sun is there, Mercury's there. The North Node will still be in Gemini too, but still, like there's a heavy Cancerian vibe in the mix now. So things are a little more personal, okay? But like I said, same with Mercury being in Cancer, the sun is here. Lots of Cancer energy. Don't take things too personally to where you think everything is an attack and you got to hide in your shell and just let all your little funky energy just like fester in your shell, mad at somebody and not even talk about the problem, oh, they didn't psychically know that I didn't like this, so I'm just gonna be bitter. Like, nah, don't. That's the darker side of Cancer. Don't tap into that. But the beautiful nurturing side that has the little apron on, wants to bake you some cookies, or that does ask you like, did you eat today? And looks at you with those little concerned Cancerian moon-shaped eyes, like, oh, how do you feel though? Yeah, that's energy that's needed. Okay, that's really needed, especially in the state of the world right now. I know I keep saying that, the state of the world, but the state of the world is freaking crazy right now though. So some nurturing energy would definitely be nice to have more of. So yeah, the sun is in Cancer from the 20th of June until July 22nd. And then on the 23rd, this is when Neptune goes retrograde. I don't always cover like the far outer planets when they go retrograde, because they do have an effect, yes, but I don't know. Like, I more so like to focus on the more inner planets and their retrograde motion, because they, from the perspective of like regular schmegular people, they're more easily seen and recognized than the outer planet stuff. Way outer planet stuff is what I find. But, we'll still give an honorable mention. So Neptune retrograde in Pisces. So, some people say when Neptune is retrograde, the effects are things are more Neptunian than usual. Then there's more deception, more things are hidden, more things are confusing. But then some people say that the fog machine is turned off and that things become more clearer because it's going retrograde, it's backwards, it's doing things the opposite of what it normally does. So when Neptune is moving forward, the fog machine is on, right? The magic is like in full effect. The trickery is real. So when it goes retrograde, it could be that, hey, now it's like, whoa, hold on, the fog is clearing. The fog is clearing, and like I can kind of see what's real. Like, wow, so the Neptune goes retrograde, and plus it's a very long transit too. It's retrograde from June 23rd until November 28th, so for 5 months. And because it's that long, it's like, it's more subtly seen and experienced. Okay, so we do have another eclipse on the 20th. I forgot to mention, so there's already like some freaking confusion in the air. Mercury's already in its shadow period. Aren't you, Mercury? Like messing with my mind like that. So, okay, we have an eclipse. As soon as the sun steps into Cancer, there is an eclipse, a new moon eclipse in Cancer. So all the things that I mentioned with the sign of Cancer, yeah, so it could be the 20th or the 21st. It's the 21st in most parts of the world. The 20th, 21st, there's a new moon eclipse in Cancer. So that's the sun and moon coming together to birth something new in this sign. But what I find is sometimes new moons can be clearing out something in order to welcome new in. So something old may have to go away first in order for newness to come through. So wherever the sign of Cancer lands in your chart, hey, that's where there's, we're bringing something new in there. And once again, I do have the 2020 horoscopes and the June horoscopes on my website if you want to know how that affects your sign in particular. But, this can be something new just in general, I guess, Cancerian theme things like with family, roots, comfort, security, something that happens that is new there. Okay. And this eclipse is not making any significant aspects that I really am going to mention. It does make an in conjunction to Saturn. I don't usually cover in conjunctions. They are important, but I try to like simplify things and just stick to like the hardest aspects, like squares and conjunctions, oppositions, and trines, to make things a little simplified and easier and keep it moving, But yes, there is an in conjunction, which is like an imbalanced energy with Saturn, which rules authority and responsibility and corporations and government and stuff like that. So there could be something Cancerian themed with family and country of origin, roots, and stuff like that with authorities. That's already kind of building up. Like I said, the effects of eclipses can be seen, heard, experienced, yada, 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 up to a month before that date. So there's already some stuff popping that has to do with that. It's apparent. So there could be something that comes to a head on the eclipse date or closer to the eclipse date with that. Okay. Now let's jump back again. Jeez Louise. To the 24th. This is when Venus goes direct. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. However, don't get too excited because even Venus retro has a shadow period. Okay. So Venus goes back to 5 degrees of Gemini. And then she starts moving direct. So that means she is starting to move direct. Don't ever think that with the snap of a motherfucking finger that when a planet moves direct, right away there's this big old party and everything's normal again. No. Okay. So what degree did Venus go retro at? She went retro at 21 degrees of Gemini back in May. So not until she gets up to that 21st degree again, surpasses it direct, are we going to be fully in the clear with Venusian matters. So that means after the 29th of July. So like the last couple days of July, that's when we'll be like, okay, you know, we can move forward with things. We can see the progression of things. Like things will be more clear. They may progressively get clearer before then, between the end of June and the end of July. But she won't be fully out of that zone, like the safe, you know, into the safe zone of like really making big decisions and big moves until after the end of July. You can still do things Venus related, like major things with money, major things with love, but just still proceed with caution between now and the end of July though. Okay. And that includes like beauty things too, things with beauty and vanity, like changing things up, getting some sort of procedure done. Like I've been watching these videos of celebrities who have had plastic surgery, and like they're just going over every surgery that they've had before and after pictures to compare and this and that and the other. It's been very fascinating. But yeah, if you want to do any type of procedures, Venus retro is not the time, boo-boo, okay? Not the time. Venus in shadow, just be careful. Don't do anything crazy yet, like chop all your hair off or get like a hairstyle or like a hair color that's like really outside of your norm, outside of your usual. Still not the best time, but when she is like moving direct, but still kind of, you know, but still in the shadow zone, just be careful. That includes tattoos too, and especially if you are a Gemini, if you're a Gemini sun, a Gemini rising, especially you, okay, or if your Venus is in Gemini, especially you, be very cautious. You may not like the results of something if it's something like totally new. And you guys, let me tell you, it has been so difficult while everybody's been in quarantine. Venus is in Gemini. Venus rules beauty. Gemini likes to try new things. Yo, I'm not a Gemini anything, okay? But I have been so wanting to try this. Like, I've been watching videos on DIY, you know, remedies for this, that, and the other, or self-care things, DIY self-care stuff. And I'm like, oh, I want to try that. Oh, I want to try this. Natural remedies for things. Oh, I want to try that. But Venus is retro. Some of that shit can backfire and like burn your lips off, or, you know, like make you blind in one eye or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I heard of a lady who tried a different eyelash glue than usual while Venus was retro, and it ended up sealing her eyeball shut, you know, irritated her eyes, and she couldn't even go to work, and, you know, just stuff like that. Trying a new product outside the norm, not a good time. Venus retro, not a good time. If you have a usual hairdresser, barber, or whatever, Venus retro, hey, stick to your usual. If you go to somebody else, they might up yo okay? So Venus goes direct on the 24th, but still proceed with caution. So on the 27th, this is when Mars goes into Aries. OMG, you guys, what are we going to do with ourselves? There's already craziness popping off while Mars is in Pisces, surprisingly, actually. Oh, Mars in Aries. Okay, so there is this meme video that went around a while back, and I had to screen record it. Oh my gosh, of like what the world would be like if women didn't advise men or tell men what to do or control men or something like that. And it was just like dudes wilding out. Dudes are like on fire, just walking around like on fire. Dudes are just busting through windows. Dudes are just like dropping out of the sky out of helicopters. Dudes are just like, hey, taxi. And then the dude just hops on the back of a taxi, just hanging on like, wee. just the stupidest things are like, and like all this aggressive Mars stuff going on, you know. I thought it was pretty funny. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's accurate. And it seems like I'm thinking when Mars is in Aries, especially when it goes retrograde, oh my gosh, that's probably what the world's really going to be like. That's probably what it's probably going to be. Not just a meme, that could be reality. But Mars is going to be in Aries, you guys. It enters June 27th. It's going to be there till January 2021. And it's going to go retrograde for 2 months, which is September 9th through November 13th. Mars retro. I'll talk about Mars retro later, but just know that while Mars is in Aries, yes, people can wild out even more, literally, because Mars is at home in the sign of Aries. It rules Aries, and you know how Aries energy is: very aggressive, very pushy. It could be brash, it could be loud, it could be just very impulsive, just acting before doing, stuff like that. So, you know, but at the same time, Mars in Aries is a go-getter energy, gets things done, gets straight to the point, very direct about things. There's no beating around the bush with Aries energy, which is dope. And it is a lot of physical energy too. That means for exercising, for just whatever. You may find yourself getting up earlier when Mars is in Aries, because it's wanting to be first at everything, the best at everything, the winner, always. So Mars and Aries can make a lot of us have that attitude of like, hey, what are you losers doing back there? I was here first, you know, which of course could be irritating AF, but at the same time, it can make you motivated a lot more to do things, to accomplish things, to, like I said, get up earlier than usual and like get started on your day instead of like just twiddling around. Like when Mars is in Pisces, you might just be like, do, what was I doing? I forgot. I don't know. I'm tired now. Let me go take a nap, you know? But when it's in Aries, it's like, I need to get this done, that done, this done, that done. It's very militant. And actually, Aries is one of the signs that are associated with the military. Mars is the ruling planet of Aries, so Mars is associated with the military as well. It's like the soldier energy, the soldier that carries out the duties of like the generals and stuff, like up here in Capricorn. So, you know, Mars, oh my God, Mars being in Aries, it's gonna be crazy. And I'm not like saying that to put fear in people's minds or anything like that, but Mars in Aries is very defensive and defensive of their own. It's very primitive. It's like a primitive sort of like warrior energy. So just be aware that that's popping for like 6 months. So if you think this stuff is crazy right now, wait until Mars goes into Aries. And when it comes in contact with Chiron is the wound. So if people feel wounded in any type of way that has to do with themselves or their own or their identity or anything, like Mars here is going to be like, let's take action based on that wound. That's not going to be really popping off until Mars gets around 9 or 10 degrees of Aries, which isn't going to be until July. And then there's an eclipse also in July. July 4th, actually. 4th, 5th, depending upon where you're at in the world. So just looking ahead a little bit at July, it could be a month to where 4th of July may be canceled. You know what I'm saying? It may be too touchy of a day to go out in public, to gather, with all the new rules in place anyway. And then Saturn is retrograde and back into Cappy too. The 4th of July is probably not going to be the same this year. Let me just tell you guys that ahead of time. Either they're going to put bans on gatherings, or if they don't, there needs to be extra securities just because of the wildness of it all with the times, and especially with Mars and wild Aries. Okay. But yeah, so Mars enters Aries at the end of June and will be there until January of next year. Dang. So some people are going to be like hella swole, from working out so much. And by the end of that transit, and some people may be a little, I don't know, a little beat up and bruised from like getting into fights or doing too many daredevil wild like barbaric stunts out there and things like that. Hopefully not, but you know, we shall see. But all right, guys, that's it. I have rambled enough. I can feel my voice already fading out. But I hope you guys have a good month of June of 2020. Stay safe out there. Stay safe and healthy and sane amongst the madness. And don't forget, I do have the monthly June horoscopes and the yearlies on my website. Okay, so take care, you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Peace.